Brian, this is for you, bro. Like, and I want you to speak to Michelle and myself, and then Michelle, I'd love to hear yours take as well on this. Like, Brian, I'm asking you because, you know, you're with my big sister, Rachel Lindsay, obviously your wife, Rachel.
Who she loves you, by the way, Michelle. She's like completely 1000% rooting for you, hoping for you to find love. And, you know, she just sends her regards.
Y'all are.
Well, I love that.
And so, Brian, like, I can't imagine being the lead, right? And like you said, Michelle, you were talking about in regards to that date, not the attention, but having the connection. I think of that sometimes as the entire season, right? Because you know you're going to get attention on the show, you know, like that's what they're going to do, right? But then we also know how many people make it out of this situation together and married and have kids and all that stuff that we want to have. Brian, and you, what's been y'all staying grace, you and Rachel, and then Michelle, what do you think about? Like, what are some things you look at to make sure that it's not just attention for the show, but we have a connection throughout?
Mm-hmm.
Well, honestly, for me, it's a very different reality out there, right? I mean, right now, Michelle's in a bubble.
Yeah.
And Rachel,
for like what, the next 2-3 years, right? Or something like that.
Rachel even said this, like, sometimes you could see yourself with somebody in the bubble, but the point is to see if you can work with somebody outside in the real world, right? So that's where Michelle is trying to decipher. And I think for me, I was living in Miami. She was living in Dallas. It was a situation where we made a pact on the show that we were going to always put the relationship first. You know what I'm saying? Like that was over anything, you know, it doesn't matter where we live. Like as long as we're together, like if we're committed in this relationship, that's what we got to do and always stick to that. Right. And I think that, you know, Michelle, whoever you find, I mean, I think that's a good golden rule to follow. Just trust in the relationship and put the relationship first always. Like everything else comes secondary.
Yeah,
what was your mic?
I couldn't agree more with you. Just there's so many different layers. I feel like being in this position adds to a relationship, and that was a huge concern, or just something that I was almost hypersensitive to as I was navigating through all this, because I talked with my parents, and you know, my family is very supportive, but we're also very private, and we're not on social media all the time. You know, we don't care about the spotlight, and you come into this position where you don't have the spotlight, and then you leave and you do. And so it's like there's some different changes, negative changes that could take place in a relationship too. And so I was definitely making sure that I do my due diligence with asking these different questions and really kind of seeing where the priorities already lie with these men and where they feel like priorities should lie within a relationship, and just having those conversations early on.
And actually, you talk a lot about your parents and how, you know, they're still together. You want to model your relationship after them. Like, what is it about their relationship? Like, what are you looking that you see in them with one of the guys on the show?
Everything is just always a team decision with my parents. Almost growing up, I was kind of annoyed at the point because they were just so on the same page where you couldn't, you know, my brother and my sister and I, you could never get away with anything. And so, you know,
wait, there wasn't like a good cop, bad cop type situation?
No, not really. Because I mean, you know, if you wanted to sleep over at your friend's house, you would go ask, you know, I'd go ask my dad, and my dad would say, well, go ask your mom. We need to talk about it. And then I go ask my mom, and mom would be like, let me talk to your dad. And so it's like they were always on the same page. It was always a team decision. And growing up, it was like, oh, you couldn't get away with anything, or, you know, you couldn't play any sides like that.
Your dad's a smart man. Your dad's a smart man.
That's sound advice. I like that.
Let me talk to your mother first. That's a very good way to take it.
They always made a team decision, and they always communicated about everything. And they always listened to each other. They always took a step back when they needed to compromise. And so it's like growing up, I saw so many of those conversations right in front of my face. And it wasn't until I was older that I realized, oh, like this actually is not common in a lot of relationships, or this is actually something that's really special and unique. And I think that's kind of why I've been so picky in my relationships, is because that communication piece, I felt like, is why they've been able to get through difficult times, because they haven't always had an easy relationship, and they've been through really hard things in life, but they are madly in love. When I tell you that, like, they laugh together, they have so much fun, they talk it out. It's just, yeah.